The scent of jet fuel and sweat clung to me as I stepped off the transport plane onto American soil. After 10 months in the arid landscapes of Afghanistan, the humid embrace of North Carolina was both jarring and familiar. Fort Bragg loomed ahead, a place I had longed to return to, yet now felt strangely distant. The debriefings were a blur, a monotonous routine of paperwork and protocol. My mind was elsewhere, racing ahead to the moment I would see Elena and Ava. Elena, my wife of 23 years, had been my anchor through the tumultuous seas of military life. Ava, our daughter, was the light that had kept me going during the darkest days overseas. I had envisioned this homecoming countless times during my deployment. The image of Elena's warm embrace and Ava's laughter had been my solace. Yet, as I navigated the familiar streets toward our home, a gnawing unease settled in my gut. Pulling into the driveway, I noted the subtle changes: a new wreath on the door, the lawn meticulously maintained. The house stood as a testament to the life we had built together, yet something felt amiss. I entered quietly, the scent of lavender and vanilla greeting me, a stark contrast to the acrid odors of the battlefield. The house was silent, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator. I set my duffel bag down, the weight of it lighter than the burden I felt pressing on my chest. "Read it, Elena," I called out, my voice echoing through the empty rooms. No response. I ascended the stairs, each step amplifying my apprehension. Our bedroom door was ajar, the bed neatly made, a tableau of normalcy that did little to quell my unease. Descending back to the living room, I noticed a stack of mail on the coffee table: bills, magazines, and a letter addressed to me in unfamiliar handwriting. I tore it open, the words within shaking me to my core. "Jack, there's something you need to know." The letter detailed encounters and observations that painted a picture I was unprepared to see. Mentions of late nights, unfamiliar cars parked in our driveway, and whispers among neighbors that had reached the writer's ears. My hands trembled as I set the letter down. The room seemed to close in around me, the walls bearing witness to my unraveling. I sank into the couch, the weight of exhaustion and betrayal pressing down on me. The home I had yearned for now felt foreign, each shadow harboring secrets I was yet to uncover. As night fell, I remained there, staring into the abyss of uncertainty. The reunion I had dreamed of was overshadowed by a looming storm, one that threatened to dismantle the very foundation of my existence. Sleep eluded me, my mind a battlefield of memories and doubts. The familiar comforts of home offered no solace, only serving as reminders of a life that may have been nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion. Dawn broke, casting a pale light over the room. I rose, determination hardening within me. I needed answers. I needed to confront the reality that awaited, no matter how painful. With a deep breath, I reached for my phone and dialed Elena's number. The line rang, each tone echoing the uncertainty that now defined my world. "Jack." Her voice was a mixture of surprise and something else, something I couldn't yet decipher. "We need to talk," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. The battle was far from over. But this time, the enemy was within the walls I had once called home. The house didn't feel right. And I don't mean in some dramatic, gut instinct kind of way. I mean it literally felt off. Like walking into your favorite bar and realizing someone changed the jukebox. Familiar, but wrong. The door creaked when I stepped inside. Same old sound. Same old frame I rebuilt with my own 2 hands after Ava broke the original, slamming it during a teenage tantrum. Memories like that, they're supposed to warm you. But this time, they hung around my neck like dead weight. "Elena," I called out, shutting the door behind me. "Ava." No answer. Silence. Just the hum of the fridge and the quiet tick of the old wall clock over the mantel. I dropped my duffel bag next to the entryway and took it in. Everything was clean. A little too clean. And it smelled like lavender. Not the cheap drugstore kind. No, this was fancy stuff. Essential oils maybe, or candles from one of those high-end boutiques downtown. I never liked the smell. Gave me headaches. Elena knew that. So why the hell did the place smell like a damn massage parlor? I walked through the kitchen. New plates in the drying rack. Wine glasses out on the counter. A second coffee mug in the sink. She'd never been one to double-dip on cups. I muttered. It was small. Minor. But it lodged itself in the back of my mind like a sliver of shrapnel. The upstairs creaked. I turned, but nothing came down. Just the natural groan of a house built in the 70s. I moved through the living room, family photos on the wall, same ones we'd had for years. But there was one I hadn't seen before. Elena and Ava at the beach. It was dated 4 months back. I squinted at it. I hadn't been sent that one in the mail. I remembered thinking I'd missed a few letters, but chalked it up to delays. Now I wasn't so sure. I sat on the couch, letting it all settle in. My body was home. My boots were back on American carpet. But my brain was still halfway across the world. It always takes a few days to reintegrate. It's like rewiring your nervous system. Overseas, you live on edge. You're trained to react, not reflect. Every door could be a threat, every shadow a sniper. Coming home is like learning to breathe underwater. Still, I kept glancing toward the stairs. Ava wasn't home. Her car wasn't out front. Maybe at a friend's? College was local. She could have been working late. I checked the fridge, leftovers, a couple takeout containers. Nothing suspicious, just a little less home-cooked than I remembered. Around 9 p.m., I finally heard the door click. Elena walked in, holding her purse and talking on her phone. She stopped cold when she saw me on the couch. "Jack?" "Hey," I said, offering a tired smile. She dropped the phone in her bag and crossed the room quickly. Her arms wrapped around me, warm and shaking slightly. She smelled like wine and lavender. "I didn't think you'd be back until Friday," she said against my shoulder. "They cut us loose a little early." Logistics ran smooth for once. She pulled back, brushing her dark hair behind her ear. Her eyes searched mine. "You look tired." I smirked. 10 months in the sandbox'll do that. "God, I missed you." She kissed me, long and deep. But something in it didn't match the energy I remembered. It felt delayed, like she had to find the script before reading the line. "I missed you too," I said, stepping back and setting my hands on her waist. "Where's Ava?" "She's staying at Sarah's tonight. Movie night, I think." I nodded. Made sense. Still didn't explain the odd quiet, or why her voice shook for a half-second when she walked in. "You okay?" I asked. She smiled, wide and bright, almost too much. "Yeah, just surprised. I wasn't ready." I looked down at myself. "Well, I ain't much to prepare for." She laughed, but again, it felt off. Forced. We spent the next couple hours catching up. She poured me a drink, bourbon, the one I liked. Said she hadn't touched the bottle since I left. Funny thing was, it was only half full. She told me about work. The new girl at the office who couldn't use a fax machine. The annoying client who kept asking for design changes and never paid on time. It all sounded normal, familiar, but she skipped certain things. Talked fast over parts. When I asked about the beach trip, she said, "Oh yeah, just a weekend thing." Ava wanted to go. We needed the air. I asked why I hadn't seen the pictures. She waved it off. Thought I sent them. Maybe the mail got messed up again. Maybe. Or maybe not. I didn't press. That night, we climbed into bed. She curled into me, her hand tracing over the scar on my shoulder. "Still there," she whispered. "Always." Sleep didn't come easy. My body twitched every time I heard the floorboards pop or a dog bark outside. Elena fell asleep quick, or at least pretended to. I laid there staring at the ceiling fan, the slow whirring matching my heartbeat. It was good to be home. That's what I kept telling myself. But something wasn't right. Something already felt broken. And I didn't know it yet, but the cracks had started long before I walked through that door. Coming home from war should feel like stepping into peace. That's the fairy tale. Truth is, it's just trading one battlefield for another, only here, the bullets are quiet, and the wounds don't show up on scans. The house was clean, the bed was warm, and Elena smiled like everything was fine. But it wasn't. I felt it in the way she moved around me, like a dancer trying to remember choreography that used to be natural. Her kiss was still soft, but her lips trembled like she was apologizing without words. She touched me like I might shatter, and I didn't know whether to lean in or back away. The first few days were slow. I unpacked what I could physically and mentally. Ava came home 2 days later, smiling big and hugging me so tight I felt something crack in my chest. She was still my girl, even at 21. A little older, little wiser, but she still called me Dad, with that same teenage lilt like she was 5 again. She didn't seem off. But she looked at me different, like she wanted to say something and didn't. Maybe she didn't know how. Maybe she was protecting me. Maybe she was scared of something I hadn't seen yet. I started noticing things. Little things. But I've learned over the years, little things add up. In combat, a broken twig can mean an ambush. At home, a second toothbrush in the drawer can mean something else entirely. Here's what I saw. 2 extra wine glasses in the cabinet. We don't throw parties. She never had friends over like that. Receipts in the trash, restaurants I'd never heard of. Mid-range, not fancy. Couples places. One had 2 entrees and a bottle of wine. Date stuff. Elena's perfume changed. Used to be something light and floral. Now it was muskier, heavier. Like the kind that clings to someone else's clothes. A new charger on the nightstand. Not mine. Not Ava's. Just sitting there like it belonged. I didn't say a word. I watched. I waited. I made coffee every morning like I always had. Kissed Elena on the cheek. Ate dinner at the table. Ava sat with us, but she didn't say much. The tension in the air? You could cut it with a bayonet. One night, maybe a week in, I sat on the porch alone, smoking a cigar I'd been saving since deployment. Midway through it, Ava stepped out and sat beside me. We didn't speak for a while. Then she said, "You okay, Dad?" I looked at her, saw something behind her eyes. Something heavy. "I'm fine. You?" She nodded, then paused, then shook her head. "Something's wrong," she said. I didn't move. "With what?" She bit her lip. "I don't want to get in the middle." That got my attention. "Middle of what, Ava?" She stared at the yard. "Mom's changed. You know that, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, I've noticed. She was different while you were gone. Busier. Out more. Distant." I turned toward her, dead still. "Did she tell you anything?" "No," she whispered. "But I've seen stuff. Heard voices upstairs. One night, I came home early from Sarah's, and I swear I heard a man's laugh. But when I went up, Mom said she was watching a video." I waited. Let the silence settle. Then, "You believe her?" Ava's jaw clenched. "I don't know what to believe anymore." That hit harder than a roadside bomb. She stood to go, but before she did, she looked back and said, "I love you, Dad. Just be careful." Be careful? What the hell did that mean in my own home? I stayed on that porch until the cigar was just ash and regret. Then I pulled out my old notebook, the kind I used to log recon data in. And I started writing again. Not enemy movements this time. Just times. Dates. Details. Behavior. I was a soldier after all. And this was intel gathering. War teaches you to look for the pattern. The enemy's habits. The shifts in wind and noise. When things are too quiet. When they're too loud. A rhythm always develops, even in chaos. And once you see it, you can act before the ambush hits. So I started watching Elena like I used to watch villages outside the wire. Not like a husband. Like a scout. It felt wrong at first. Hell, it was wrong. But I'd rather feel guilt than get blindsided again. I'd lived too many months on edge, waiting for the wrong step to send me home in a box. I wasn't about to walk into emotional shrapnel now. So I watched. Every morning, she made coffee, her cup black, mine with cream. Normal. But she always checked her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Not scrolling, not browsing. Just checking. Waiting. Twice, she left the room to answer calls. Once, she went out onto the back deck with her phone held tight, whispering. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she left the house at 6:30 p.m. Said it was a yoga class across town. She came home around 9:15. Sweaty, hair tied back. But the second week, I checked the yoga studio's website. The last class ended at 8 o'clock. And here's where things really shifted. On a Thursday evening, she left again. I waited 15 minutes. Got in my truck. Left the lights off. And followed her. Felt like a damn traitor doing it. But I needed answers. And men like me, we don't go to therapy when we think something's wrong. We gather intel. We plan. We move. She didn't go to the yoga studio. She drove past it. 10 minutes across town. Pulled into a quiet residential street. Tucked into one of those half-developed suburbs with identical houses and overgrown lots. She parked outside a tan single-story ranch. She got out and went to the door. She knocked. She didn't wait long. A man answered. Mid-40s. Taller than me. Broad shoulders. Looked like he lifted but didn't work for a living. His posture was too relaxed. His face too smug. He let her in. She smiled and stepped inside. Door closed. I sat there, engine running low, parked around the corner behind some overgrown hedges. I stared at that door until the knot in my stomach turned to concrete. She stayed inside for nearly 2 hours. I didn't need to see what happened. My gut, my military-trained, battle-scarred gut, knew. She came back out at 9:12 p.m. Hair neat. Same yoga mat slung over her shoulder like it hadn't just been used as a cover story. She didn't see me. She drove home. So did I? When I walked in 10 minutes later, she was pouring herself a glass of wine at the kitchen counter like she hadn't just spent the evening tearing apart our marriage in someone else's house. "Hey, babe," she said, smiling. "You okay?" I nodded. "Just a headache. Didn't sleep well last night." She kissed my cheek. "Go lie down. I'll bring you some Tylenol." I watched her walk away. How many times had she lied to my face like that? I went to the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and pulled the dog tags out of the drawer. They jingled in my hand. I remembered a firefight outside Kandahar. I remembered patching up a brother with my bare hands while RPGs screamed over our heads. I remembered thinking, if I get home, if I make it out, I'm gonna make it count. I'm gonna be a good man, a good husband. And here I was, a good man sitting in a house that had turned into a crime scene. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I opened my notebook and added a line. Thursday, 6:45 p.m. She entered house on Mason Lane. Man greeted her. She stayed 2 hours, returned at 9:12 p.m., smiled like nothing happened. I flipped back through the pages, started drawing lines between times, places, words, cross-referencing receipts, call logs, her stories. A pattern was forming, a story she wasn't telling. And the worst part? She wanted me blind, wanted me tired, wanted me trusting, because that made it easier. The only thing she didn't count on was me being trained to spot bullshit from 100 yards. They say when you go looking for the truth, be damn sure you're ready to find it. I wasn't. Not really. But I went digging anyway. After that night outside Mason Lane, I knew I couldn't sit on my hands anymore. I'd stared down RPGs, cleared buildings with shaking hands and blood in my boots. But this felt worse. Closer. Like I'd stepped on a mine and was waiting for the click. So I did what any soldier does when facing uncertainty. I prepared. I reconned. Started with the basics. Phone records. Elena and I were still on the same cell plan. My name was on the account. She probably never thought twice about it. But I had login access. Full billing data. Call history. 12 calls to the same number over the last 2 weeks. Always between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Always under 10 minutes. Always deleted from her phone log. I wrote the number down. Searched it. Nothing popped. No name. No business. Next step, reverse lookup. Took me to a burner app. Spoofed number. Disposable. But sometimes those apps are sloppy. If someone registers it with real info, even once, fragments get stored. And guess what? The name Rick popped up. Rick. The name hit me like a gut punch. Rick was a buddy. Had been for years. Deployed with me once. Fallujah, 2006. We'd lost touch since, but I remembered him as cocky, smooth-talking, always chasing skirts even when he had someone waiting back home. Back then, I chalked it up to him being a lonely bastard. We all had our demons. But I never, not for 1 second, thought he'd be knocking on my door behind my back. I didn't jump to conclusions. I wanted facts. Solid evidence. No room for doubt. So I dug deeper. Next came the receipts. Elena never was one for paperless billing. Old habits. I went through the drawer in the kitchen where she kept our junk mail and shopping stubs. Took maybe 10 minutes to find the first one. La Grange Bistro, dinner for two, $134. Thursday, 7:42 p.m. La Grange was a quiet place. Candlelight. Wine list. Couples held hands across the damn table there. Not the kind of joint you go to after yoga. Second receipt? White Oak Inn, room 218, 3 hours stay, Saturday. Ava was at a friend's house that night. Elena had told me she was attending a late design seminar in Charlotte. There was no seminar. I checked. My stomach clenched. The timeline matched the phone records. The yoga nights. The wine glass in the sink. The second toothbrush. The changed perfume. The house on Mason Lane. Owned by Rick's cousin, according to county records. Empty half the time. Used to be a rental. So now I knew. It wasn't just cheating. It was betrayal. It was someone I knew. Someone I trusted with my life. And her? She didn't just break vows. She planned it. That was the part that cut deepest. It wasn't a one-night slip-up. This had legs. Duration. Details. Emotion. Cover stories. She didn't cry about it. She didn't confess. She looked me in the eye and lied. Every damn day. I took all the data, printed it, stored it in a folder, kept it in the lockbox with my DD, 214, and the flag from my buddy Jeremy's funeral. I stared at that flag and thought, he died so I could come home to this. I had half a mind to pack my things and leave that night. But I didn't. You know why? Because Ava deserved the truth. And because I wanted to hear her say it. Look me in the eye. Lie one more time. I wanted to see if she still had the guts. There's a moment before the first shot is fired. When the whole world holds its breath. When the silence is louder than any gunfire could be. I sat in that silence. At my own kitchen table. Same table where Ava learned to write her name. Where Elena and I sat sipping morning coffee during the quiet years. Where we carved pumpkins, passed mashed potatoes, talked about mortgage rates and home improvement projects. And now that table had become the battlefield. It was late. Ava had gone to bed early. She'd been quiet for days, and I could tell she was picking up on the tension. She always had that sixth sense, some gift of reading people. She knew something was off. And I think deep down, she already knew her mother was lying. The house was dim, just the soft underglow from the range light. The clock on the wall ticked in rhythm with my pulse. Elena came in wearing one of those oversized cardigans she always curled up in. Glass of red wine in hand. Casual. Comfortable. She didn't know what was coming. "Hey, baby," she said, smiling. "You okay? You've been quiet lately." I nodded. "Just thinking." She sat across from me, sipping her wine, staring at me like I was a puzzle she'd forgotten how to solve. "You're not sleeping." "No." "You want to talk about it?" I slid the folder across the table. She blinked. "What's this?" "Open it." She did. Inside were the printed call logs. The receipts. The GPS screenshots from her car's tracking system. The reverse phone lookup. The picture of her walking into the house on Mason Lane. She didn't move for a long time. Then she closed the folder, set her wine down, and said the most gutless goddamn thing I've ever heard. "It's not what you think." I laughed. Not a real laugh. The kind that comes when your soul is trying not to crack wide open. "Elena," I said, calm as the eye of a storm. I was trained to recognize bullshit in 5 different languages. "You think I don't know what I'm looking at?" Her eyes filled up. But no tears fell. Not yet. That would have required honesty. "How long?" I asked. She said nothing. So I said it again. "How long?" She took a shaky breath. 7 months. 7 months. That meant she started just 3 months after I deployed. "That's a long time to lie to someone you swore your life to," I said. "Was it just Rick?" Her silence answered that. I clenched my jaw. "You slept with a man I went to war with." "I didn't mean for it to happen like that," she whispered. "But it did," I snapped. And then it kept happening. I leaned back, trying to breathe through the thunder in my chest. "What did you tell Ava?" I asked. Her voice cracked. "Nothing." She heard voices upstairs. "She knows. She just didn't want to admit it. Just like I didn't." Elena finally looked at me then. Really looked. "Jack." "I was lonely. You were gone. You were always gone. And when you came home, you weren't the same. You stopped talking. You carried everything inside." I slammed my hand on the table. Not loud. Just hard enough to feel the bones tremble. "You think I didn't bleed for this family? You think I didn't carry hell on my back to give you and Ava a roof and a future? And while I was across the ocean, trying to keep myself alive, you were fucking someone else in my bed." She flinched. "But I wasn't done. You could have talked to me. You could have told me you were struggling. You could have asked for help. Instead, you betrayed me. And don't give me that. I was lonely garbage. You don't stay lonely for 7 months. That's not loneliness. That's a second life." Her hands shook. Finally, the tears came. "I didn't know how to stop," she said. "It got out of hand. Rick, he made me feel seen." I stood. "I hope he sees you real clear when you're crying into his chest after I'm gone." She sobbed. I didn't care. "You need to sleep somewhere else tonight," I said, walking out of the kitchen. "Jack, please." "No." I turned back one last time. "You didn't just break my heart, Elena. You spit on everything I fought for." There are 2 kinds of heartbreak. The kind that cracks your ribs open from the inside out. And the kind that breaks someone else's heart when you have to speak the truth out loud. This was the second kind. The night after I confronted Elena, I didn't sleep. I sat in the garage with the door open, letting the cold air bleed through my skin. Hadn't felt clean in days. Not since I watched the woman I loved lie through her teeth with a straight face and tearless eyes. I ran through 1,000 different scenarios. How to tell Ava. When. Where. How much to say. What to hold back. But she deserved the truth. Maybe more than I did. She was caught in the blast radius of something she never set off. By sunrise, I still hadn't found the words. She found me first. "Dad." Her voice came from the doorway. I looked up. She stood barefoot in a hoodie, hair tied up in a messy bun. My little girl, not so little anymore, but her eyes still had that quiet storm behind them. "You okay?" she asked. I set my coffee down. Nodded. "You got a minute?" She came out and sat on the workbench beside me, knees pulled up to her chest. "Is it about Mom?" she asked after a long silence. I looked at her. "What makes you say that?" She shrugged. "She's been weird. You've been quiet. Something changed." I nodded. "It's time you knew." So I told her. Not all the dirty details, but enough. The yoga nights that weren't yoga. The phone calls. The receipts. The name. When I said Rick, her face hardened. Not shocked. Just tight. Like a puzzle piece she'd been trying not to fit into place. "I knew it," she muttered. "You knew what?" She looked down. I didn't want to believe it. But I heard him once. A few months ago. I came home early, and I heard his voice upstairs. I thought I was going crazy. Thought maybe it was the TV. But I knew that laugh. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her eyes welled up. "Because I didn't want to be the one to break your heart." That sentence wrecked me. My daughter, this strong, smart, loyal kid, had protected me while the woman I married betrayed me. She looked at me, tears brimming but not falling. "Are you okay?" I couldn't lie. Not to her. "No." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Neither am I." We sat like that for a long time. The garage got brighter. The day moved on outside. But we stayed in that stillness, father and daughter, two survivors of the same emotional wreck. "I don't know what happens next," I admitted. "Are you going to divorce her?" "Probably. I don't see how we come back from this." Ava nodded. "I don't either. I'm sorry you had to find out like this." "I'm not," she said. "I'd rather know than live in a lie." There was steel in her voice. The kind that doesn't grow overnight. The kind that gets forged in fire. I put my arm around her shoulders. "You're strong, kid." She smiled. "You taught me." When she stood to go back inside, she paused at the door. "I want to stay with you. If it comes to that." "You always have a place with me," I said. "Always." She left, and I sat there alone again. But something was different now. The weight hadn't lifted. Not yet. But it wasn't just on my shoulders anymore. Hell doesn't break in one loud moment. It cracks slow, splinters you from the inside until the final snap is just a formality. The day after I told Ava, I filed the papers. Divorce. No mediation. No counseling. No soft landings. I went straight for dissolution with cause, infidelity. My lawyer was a Marine vet turned pit bull in a suit. I gave him the folder with everything. Receipts, records, photos. His face didn't flinch. "You want full custody of your daughter?" "She's 21. I said. He nodded. "Still, she chooses where she lives. We'll keep that clean. She's already made her choice." He took the folder and handed me a pen. "Then let's get started." By the time I pulled out of the parking lot, I was staring down the first official step toward erasing a woman I gave 2 decades to. My hand shook on the wheel, not from nerves, but rage held too long. When I got home, her car was in the driveway. She was packing. I didn't speak. Just stood in the doorway and watched her throw clothes into a suitcase like she was late for a flight. She looked up. "Is this what you want?" I tilted my head. "What I want?" "Elena, what I wanted was for my wife not to fuck my war buddy while I was dodging mortars in Kandahar. But I guess we're way past what either of us wants, huh?" Tears welled again. She was good at that. "This wasn't how it was supposed to happen," she said. "No," I said. "It was supposed to stay secret, wasn't it? Until I deployed again. Or died. Or maybe you'd just wait until I finally couldn't take the silence anymore and left on my own." Her voice cracked. "I didn't plan it. You did, Elena. You planned every Thursday night for 7 months. That's not a mistake. That's a relationship." She wiped her eyes. "I loved you." "No, you loved what I gave you. The house, the security, the name. But you didn't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have had to search for someone else to feel seen." She zipped the suitcase. "I'll go to my sister's," she said. "Until I find a place." "Good." She walked past me, stopped at the door. "I never meant to hurt Ava," she said, like it was a closing statement. "You did," I replied. "And I'll be damned if I let her forget who did it." The door closed. And for the first time since I came home, the house felt still. Not quiet, still. Like the air had stopped holding its breath. But it didn't take long for the outside world to get its hands bloody. Day 3. Rick called. Blocked number. I answered anyway. "Jack." I hung up. He called again. I let it ring. He texted. "Man, I never meant for it to go this far. She told me you were basically separated." She said you were seeing someone over there. My hand gripped the phone so tight, I felt the case flex. I didn't respond. We got close. I didn't plan it. I swear. We were both lost. I took a screenshot and forwarded it to my lawyer. Then I blocked him. But that's when the whisper started. Elena started spinning her own version. I heard about it through mutuals. She told her coworkers I was emotionally distant, that I'd changed, that war had hardened me, that I was cold, that Rick had just been someone who made her feel alive again. One friend even told me Elena hinted I'd been abusive. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not in a violent way. Not in a scream and break things kind of way. No, something far more dangerous. Clarity. I realized she wasn't just unfaithful. She was cowardly. She couldn't own what she did. So she had to rewrite the story. I wasn't gonna let her. I didn't post anything. Didn't go online. Didn't start slinging dirt. I went quiet. But I made sure the truth had legs. People started finding out the real story. Ava had no interest in keeping her mouth shut anymore. She told her friends. They told theirs. It got around. Rick's marriage ended 3 weeks later. Turns out Elena wasn't his first affair, just his last. I heard his wife took the kids and half the assets. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. 1 month later, Elena emailed me. Not a call. Not a text. An email. Subject line. Please read. I sat at my desk for a solid 5 minutes before I opened it. Jack. I know you hate me. I know I deserve it. But I need you to understand I didn't set out to destroy us. I felt lost. I didn't recognize you anymore, and I was scared. Rick was a mistake, but I clung to him because he made me feel something. Not love. Not real. Just seen. Like I mattered again. I wish I could take it all back. I wish I could go back to that first moment and stop it. But I can't. All I can do is ask for forgiveness. Not for us. But for Ava. Don't turn her against me. I still love her more than anything. Please don't let her grow up thinking I'm a monster. I'll accept whatever punishment you want. Just don't take her away from me. Elena. I stared at the screen. Did I hate her? Yeah. But more than that, I pitied her. She didn't just burn our life down. She did it without a plan. Without an exit. Just emotion and cowardice, slapping the detonator like a child with a loaded gun. I replied with 6 words. You made your choices. Live with them. Then I deleted her message. And for the first time in weeks, I slept. There's no playbook for putting your life back together after betrayal. They don't hand you a pamphlet at the lawyer's office that says, congratulations. You've been cheated on. Here's how to stop the bleeding and start living again. You're on your own. Just you, the echo of lies, and the broken mirror of everything you thought was solid. But I had 2 things left that gave me something to stand on. 1. Ava. 2. The man I used to be. I buried that second one years ago. Somewhere between Kandahar and my front porch, I stopped being Jack the soldier and tried damn hard to be Jack the husband. I hung up my uniform, learned how to grill, replaced combat briefings with IKEA instructions. Thought maybe, just maybe, I could live a quiet life. Turns out quiet doesn't always mean honest. So, I started with the garage. Literally. That place had always been mine. Sawdust, tools, the smell of motor oil and stubborn projects. After Elena left, I spent hours out there, not building anything, just standing in it. Existing. Then one day, I started tearing it down. Not the whole garage, just the bench. That bench I'd built with her when we first moved in. It had initials carved in the wood, memories soaked in stain. I ripped it apart piece by piece. Let the splinters cut me. Let the sweat and the ache remind me I was still here. And when the last board hit the ground, I built a new one. Smoother, stronger, better designed. That became the metaphor for my life from that point on. Ava moved in permanently. I didn't ask her to. She didn't make a speech about it. One day, she just started leaving her textbooks on the kitchen table, her sneakers by the front door, her Spotify playlist and my truck's Bluetooth history. She filled the empty spaces, not with noise, just with presence. I'd catch her watching me sometimes, like she was still waiting for me to break. But I didn't, and she didn't either. One night, I made steaks. She poured the wine. We sat on the porch, watching the sun bleed out over the neighborhood like it was apologizing for the day. She finally spoke. You know, I don't miss her. I looked at her, eyebrows raised. Not even a little, she said. I think I miss the version of her I thought existed. But the real one? The one who did this? No, she's not my mother anymore. Not really. I nodded, sipping from my glass. I get that. I'm proud of you, she said. Why? Because most people would have snapped or crumbled. You just took the hit and kept standing. I chuckled, dry and low. It's not strength, kid. It's survival instinct. Same one that kicked in when RPGs hit the convoy. You don't have time to cry. You either move or you die. She nudged my shoulder. Still proud. And right then, I realized something. This girl wasn't just my daughter. She was my reason. The next 6 months were quiet. And this time, it was the right kind of quiet. I cleaned out the bedroom, got rid of the sheets, burned them in the fire pit one cold February night. Watched the smoke curl up like ghosts leaving the property. I repainted the walls, hung new pictures. Me and Ava on a hiking trip. My squad back in '08, laughing in front of a blown-out Humvee. Nothing fake. No posed happy family shots. Just truth. Pure, scarred truth. Elena tried contacting us a few times. Ava didn't answer. Neither did I. She sent a birthday card in May. Ava left it sealed on the mantel for 2 days, then finally threw it in the trash. It's just guilt, she muttered. She's not sorry. She just doesn't want to be the villain in her own story. She was right. People like Elena don't apologize because they mean it. They do it to unburden themselves. I wasn't going to be her priest. Spring turned to summer. Work picked up. My crew respected me more than ever. Some of them had heard what happened to small towns talk. A few quietly pulled me aside to say they'd been through the same. Different names. Same betrayal. It's funny how many men walk around with knives in their backs, pretending it's just an itch. I started running again. Lifting. Eating better. Sleeping, really sleeping for the first time in years. And then one day, out of nowhere, Ava asked me, "Have you ever thought about dating again?" I nearly choked on my coffee. "No," I said. Too fast. She smirked. Didn't say now, just ever. I stared at the table for a while. Thought about love. Thought about war. Realized sometimes they're the same damn thing. "I think I'm still healing," I said. "That's fair," she nodded. "And maybe when I'm done with that," I added, "I'll consider it. But next time, I'll be real careful about who gets past the gate." "Good," she said. "Because if you bring home another liar, I'll burn the house down." We both laughed. And I believed her. 1 year later, the house is different. Cleaner. Quieter. Stronger. Like me. I still keep that folder, proof of the betrayal. Not to reopen old wounds, but to remember. To never let myself get that blind again. To never confuse routine for trust. Ava's applying to law school now. Wants to work in advocacy. Said she wants to fight for people who get blindsided and broken but still choose to stand. Wonder where she got that from. As for Elena, I don't know where she is. Don't care. Last I heard, Rick bailed on her. Shocker. But it's not revenge I wanted. It was peace. And now? I've got it. 5 years. That's how long it's been since the morning I filed the divorce papers, handed over the folder of betrayal, and watched a 23-year marriage crumble like rotten wood. 5 years since Elena walked out that door. 5 years since I heard Rick's voice. 5 years since Ava looked at me through tear-rimmed eyes and said, "I want to stay with you." And now? We're still standing. Not the same. Never the same. But stronger. Sharper. Real. I don't wear the ring anymore. That came off the night she confessed. But the groove it left in my finger stayed for a long time, like the body's way of remembering pain that wasn't physical. I don't look for her online. I don't check old photos. Whatever part of me she thought she destroyed. It rebuilt. Brick by brutal brick. Ava graduated last year. Top of her class. Criminal law. Her cap red. Built from the ashes. She didn't ask me to come. She told me to come. Reserve the front row. Sat me next to her favorite professor, who leaned in and said, "Your daughter's got the fire, sir. The good kind." I nodded. Yeah, she gets that from me. She works now for a firm that advocates for victims of domestic abuse, financial manipulation, and betrayal. She said it's not about revenge, it's about balance. Making sure the monsters don't get to rewrite the ending. You hear something like that from your own kid, and you know you didn't just survive. You won. We got through it. Together. She still lives nearby. Calls me every Sunday, no matter what. Last week she came over for steak and whiskey, her little ritual with me. She asked again, "So? Dating yet?" I laughed. "You gonna ask me that every year? Until you say yes." I smiled. Truth is, I had gone on a few dates. Nothing serious. Coffee, conversation. A walk here. A movie there. But I'd learned to take it slow. To listen with more than my ears. To watch patterns, body language, the stories people tell between the lines. Betrayal doesn't just sharpen your guard, it rewires the whole damn system. I still haven't let anyone pass the gates. Not fully, but I'm open. Not because I need someone. Because I finally know I'm worth more than what I lost. The house changed too. Rooms repainted. Furniture replaced. I sold the old bedroom set, the one she used to lie in like it meant something. I built a new one. With my own hands. Oak. Solid. No creaks, no hollow frame. Ava helped stain it. We laughed through the whole project. Like it wasn't about the bed at all, it was about reclaiming space. The garage is still my sanctuary. But now it's clean. Organized. A place of peace instead of grief. Sometimes I just sit in there with a cigar and let the air carry the silence. The good kind. No ghosts here anymore. Just memory. And purpose. As for Elena, I heard she remarried. Some accountant from Georgia. Divorced again last year. No surprise. Ava doesn't speak to her. Not out of hatred. Out of clarity. She made her choices, Ava once said. Now she lives in them. I get that. That's how life works. You make your bed, you lie in it. Or in her case, someone else's. I keep one photo of us. Not for nostalgia. Not for hope. For reference. To remember how far I've come. To never go back. One final story. A few months ago, I met a man at a vet's event. He was older, Marine. Lost his wife, but not to cheating. Cancer. We got to talking over beers. He asked about my story. I gave him the short version. He didn't look surprised. That kind of pain, he said, it either hardens you or hollows you. Looks like you chose the right one. I thought about that all night. And I think he's right. Some men never come back from betrayal. They live bitter, small, and angry. They blame the whole world. But me? I learned to hold the fire without burning myself. I learned that loyalty, real loyalty, is worth more than love without truth. And I learned that you can lose everything, absolutely everything, and still come out better if you remember one thing. The war didn't kill me. She didn't kill me. They just taught me who I really am. So here it is. My legacy. Not medals. Not money. Not some perfect happy ending. Just truth. Truth earned through blood, lies, and fire. A daughter stronger than steel. A life rebuilt by hand. And the peace of knowing I faced hell and walked out the other side with my integrity intact. That's what I leave behind. That's what Jack became. A man who doesn't forget. A man who doesn't forgive betrayal. A man who protects what's his with everything he's got. And if you've been through something like this, if you're sitting in your own quiet house, wondering how the hell it all went wrong, remember this. You're not broken. You're forged. And you're not alone. That's it, brother. That's my story.